Manticores versus Titans. Manticores first on the clock. Robin gone. No surprise.
In a matchup like this, where all of these players are pretty familiar with each other, but know that they're trying to mesh their own play styles on the table, it's a lot easier to just look for those more targeted kind of bans as opposed to what is favored in the meta right now.
Yeah, I mean, real talk, when it comes down to it, the Naja ban is interesting, and I'll bring up why. But when it comes down to it, at this level of play, yeah, look, Arachne probably not going to get picked. Shout out to Mask and Twink, who actually might do it. The tier list becomes less and less reliable as you go higher and higher on the skill column. And when you have literally the best players in the world here, I mean, we're just going to see the targeted bans, like you said. The Odin banned out, the Chronos banned out. Osiris first pick, we actually get to see Kukulane here. He's going to get you, laddie.
I remember that one from yesterday, but I'm really liking the Camazotz pickup as well on top of the Kukulane, just because there's a lot of burst potential already on the side of Titans, and I think for Ataraxia's team, this is certainly the way to go, is just look for a draft that can pack a punch early on.
I love how fast players are locking in. So there was some question. I think the players are going to take this really seriously. I mean, there's money on the line, sure, but there's also pride on the line. You have your personal pride here. You've earned your way here by way of, player vote, so you're going to get here. And right away, we see the Titans playing what you would expect. We see the Morrigan for Pretty Prime, most likely. Mask going to be on that Camazotz. Dimmy on the Kukulane. Kukulane. There you go, thank you.
I love him.
I spent so long...
I always mess around with the names. I mean, just look at what I do with Kerninus.
I've spent so long mastering Kukulkan that Kukulane is now tough for me, but in any event, Vamana and Ra will be banned out by the Titans in round 2, and Ganesh will be the third ban for Manticores, and the final one on its way.
Probably anticipate another support ban from the Manticores. They could also potentially still be looking to eliminate another warrior. Titans with that Morrigan pickup have a little bit of flexibility here, considering it could be some kind of craziness like Camazotz solo, Kukulane, jungle, Morrigan mid, or any of the sorts. Yeah. Just all of those picks are pretty flexible in their direction to play.
And even right now with what Titans have with their first round draft, or their first half of the draft, dive. Camazotz, potentially 2 Camazotz. Kukulane is fantastic at really diving towers because he's just so beefy. Goes into transformation form, just becomes a terror. You're going to push people off with that vent heat, vent anger type deal. So when it comes down to it, the Titans, they're looking to just dive your tower right away. Manticores, Uller, I'm seeing just high execution. They're really depending on their individual skill here.
Uller and Terra, though, have a ton of synergy as far as setup is concerned, so that could be one very strong potential coming out of that duel lane. That is to say, if the Uller is going into the duel lane, there is still a small possibility of it being flexed into mid, but considering that it is the best on the side of Manticores, I don't really expect him to play a Hunter in the mid lane.
That's why we see the Ra ban out for best, one of the stronger players when it comes to just hitting the stuff. I mean, famously, just really strong at landing the 1-4 combo when it comes to the laser chicken, and whether or not he's got set up at all from an Arlong Shen support. Shouts to Aurora, who is also on this squad. The support mid synergy from that old Eager squad, now AI. That unique interaction between Aurora and the best, very, very strong. So I expect to see more traditional mage come out. However, Titans on the clock, looking for their 4th pick.
That's one of the best synergies to maintain as well, just among players, because supports are so frequently rotating around the map. It's really critical for them to have that level of communication with their mid laner, just in case, because all you need is a slight second, and that's really all it takes for that setup to come through. And with the Ares being locked in on the side of Manticores, we could see a little bit of flavor here.
Yeah, I like this. We're going to see likely a Terra solo Osiris jungle is where I'm thinking. Captain Twig likes those warrior tanky junglers, and the Thoth guy going to be grouped up with both Uller, Terra, and Ares. Tons of setup for the best, whether or not he needs it. Titans on the other side select Kerninus for Ataraxia, one of the first players to pick up the Goatman in the long lane, and he's played him very, very well. The last selection, though, most likely going to be the support.
I want to see some hard CC from Titans. Right now, they have a decent bit of setup, and there it is. The Geb lock-in provides them with a little bit of survivability on top of the fact that that Cataclysm is going to come up pretty clutch for these guys. They don't really have a ton of hard CC outside of that Geb stun and the Morrigan.
Geb is also one of Wubbin's go-to characters. I love watching this guy when it comes to Geb. And again, this is I'm happy that players like Wubbin actually made it here, because you're so used to seeing them in their own little bubble of, you know, the lower end of teams. Noble historically not doing too hot, but individually those guys are all pro players. Now we get to see what Wubbin can do when he's surrounded by 4 very, very strong guys. The Geb, one of the perfect supports for him to be able to play, not just to go with the team composition, but his own individual skill. He's the Geb man.
Ataraxia spoke about it earlier already, though. He really wanted to just see if he could tap into the potential that he believes is there for Wubbin. And considering just how much experience Ataraxia has garnered for himself throughout all of his years of playing SMITE, I think that this could be an excellent learning experience, win or lose for Wubbin.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, yeah, Wubbin's going to learn a lot. Ataraxia has a good eye for talent. So I'm eager to see if Wubbin will actually line up the way he expects. And as we see the game in the spectacles of Ataraxia, we'll see the game on the screen itself. NRG Invitational starting off with Manticores versus Titans. An exciting one for sure.
This is going to be pretty difficult, though, for the Titans at the starting phases at least, just because of the fact that when you have that Geb, sure, you've got a Kern right beside him, but that early clear is still going to suffer just a little bit in comparison to an Ares and an Ullr.
Manticores putting Kiki on the Terra in the solo lane. No surprise there. I know maybe some people wanted to see a reprise of what Deathwalker did at Semifinals, but very different composition-wise. Deathwalker had some help by way of an Athena to taunt into the nonsense. They were going to be able to clear the blue buff on the enemy side very quickly. Kiki and the Osiris, however, jungle, not really the same type of deal. So put Kiki on the Terra, give a Roar the aggressive support, again, right in his wheelhouse with the Ares. Honestly, Manticores, I really like this draft.
Their draft is pretty insane. As soon as they catch one person off guard and get them trapped even the slightest bit in a CC chain, it's never going to end until that person is dead.
Captain Twig taking a couple shots. Pretty Prime going to take a shot as well. Basic attacks on top of Mask. Already a bang fest. The Frenzy comes out. Thoth guy looking for the wave, however. Not the actual fight. Captain Twig and Mask relatively low, while our mid laners stay healthy.
Mask probably got the better end of that trade, though, just because Camazotz does have the sustain already in his kit. It is his second ability. He has the first one leveled at the moment just for the lane clear, but he'll be able to heal perfectly fine off of his own jungle camps.
Captain Twig will be able to do so, although it'll take a little bit longer. As Mask. Look at Pretty Prime here, trying to contest those mid-harpies, but they do go the way of Manticores. Captain Twig has the sustain by way of the Death's Toll that he purchased in the jungle. Those cleave basics will be able to heal himself up.
On the bright side, though, Demi was able to secure the small fire elementals for his team, and I'm expecting Mask and Demi to pick up the rest of the fire elementals once he returns back to the lane and clears off that blue buff, just because Terra really doesn't have much pushback potential.
Yeah, Mask helping out Kukulkan on the right side as opposed to the traditional go-to that we see out of Osiris and Thoth, where Captain Twig holds the best hand for an extra wave and then goes to the blue buff. All in all, pretty much the same result. Nothing too crazy going on here just yet. But again, Captain Twig and Mask meet up in the jungle, and it's just a slap fight. Basics going right against each other.
This time it's Twig. It's certainly getting the better end of it. Demi, however, trying to make that rotation is going to force Captain Twig to back off. They're just looking for a ton of poke potential onto him.
Around the other side, no stun available, so just gets a little bit of poke. Captain Twig will be forced sent home. Meanwhile, left side, let's say hello to the dual lane. Roar and Emilito pairing off against Ataraxia and Wubbin. That's going to be a stop for the rollout. Stun is good. Basic attacks are stronger. And the chains isn't enough. Looking for it, can't find it. The dive not there. Emilito going for it. Gets the kill right in the tower. Early dive, early kill.
Those early dives are just so brutal, facing off against an Ares and an Ullr. Just so much range and possibility. Really well piloted by Emil.
And again, you know, just giving the support credit where credit's due. He does the damage with the chains and then follows up with the bolstered defenses, allowing Emilito just a little bit more confidence to go into that tower range and look for the long-range shot.
The worst part about it all, too, is that Wubben did expend his shell there, so they're not even going to have that option whenever he returns back to the duo lane. And already being forced behind in XP to Aurora is going to leave him in a very difficult position, considering that Aurora will be hitting level 5 soon, and you can expect he's going to look for that chain immediately onto Wubben.
And there it is, level 5 for both players on the Manticores duo lane. Emilito on this Uller, you know, it's something that I really haven't seen Emil play a lot of, but I have no doubt in my mind that he can make the plays like that. Expect to see the blind hail of arrows, the third ability. It's just, when it comes to Uller, we always say that, well, you got to be good at him to play him at a high level, and that sounds really simplistic, but if you can't hit virtually everything, you're kind of just useless without that ultimate.
To a certain extent, this is Emil's having fun pick, though, I would definitely say. I mean, these players aren't looking to really expose anything crazy as far as strategies are concerned. They want to still compete and play efficiently against each other, but as far as comfort and just having fun is concerned, I think that Emil is definitely still keeping that in mind with the Uller.
Double wards coming out from Titans, a little bit of those are the type of things we're going to see. But at the same time as what you're saying, Taco, there's also the other side of the coin where this meta is not established. We had a mid-season patch, one of the bigger changes that we're going to see, right? So the meta that we see here is being crafted on the fly, 1. 2, the players are not with their traditional teams, so you're not getting that playbook type experience. And on top of that, C, you just having a situation where everybody is just kind of like going with the flow right now. So you have 3 different reasons where everybody's watching very closely. And are they keeping things close to the chest? Well, there's nothing really to keep secret yet.
Well, they're certainly keeping the pressure up on the side of Manticores. Just Emil being able to solo clear and invade Ataraxia's purple buff is going to just slowly keep adding up as far as experience is concerned. He's already got about a half-level lead on him. And if he continues to maintain it, it's going to make things incredibly difficult for Titans because he'll be able to start rotating into that mid lane unexpectedly.
Best in Aurora, classic teammates grouping up here in the middle lane. We're Wubben and Pretty Prime from 2 different regions. We'll do the same on the red side. Pings coming out for those left side Harpies, but they were just taken, so Manticores won't be able to have that experience at their luxury. And Emilito versus Ataraxia. How do you fancy this Hunter matchup?
This is a great Hunter matchup in general, as far as players are concerned and their own play styles. Hold that thought, though. It's going to be Dimmy in a lot of trouble with the gank coming through Captain Twig. Ultimate expended. He has absolutely 0 healing, and Kiki's going to be able to catch him with the clap.
3 players surrounding him. Nowhere to go for Dimmy. Not the Undying this time around. First death in the solo lane goes to Dimmy, and the kill goes right to Kiki on the Terra. But big damage coming out from Captain Twig in the jungle. You can see he's top of the player damage so far. But what has he earned for it? In the beginning of the game, it's really off to see who gets off to the races first. Acceleration versus top speed. Let's take a look at net worth so far. See who's really leading the chart as far as gold is concerned. No surprise, it's the Hunters who's kind of left to their own devices, but it's that kill for Terra that's certainly helping her out.
That kill for Kiki as well is just going to allow him to have a little bit more pressure in that solo lane because Dimmy's going to have to stay on his toes now knowing just how willing Manticores are to rotate over and gank him.
Ooh, the axe stun is good and good enough to force out the beads. But Emilito dodges one of the hits, can't dodge the second one. Mask shows up, Wubben's here as well. Beads is good for the ultimate, but the dive, 1, 2, and Mask out of hell sends Emilito right back down. And Aurora the other side takes one out for Dimmy. Titans on the board, but Manticores answers back in kind.
We saw so much commit in that duo lane side because they knew that Dimmy was probably going to be dying yet again in the solo lane to the gank. So excellently well played by Titans. And now they're looking to chase down Twig. Pretty Prime, instead, opting to go for the Camazot's ultimate, unable to secure the damage onto Osiris, though.
I like the play, I think, and whenever you see the Morgan play, you're always going to have the what if. You could have gone into so many different other options, maybe look for the crowd control, but at the end of the day, I like the idea behind the Camazot's. Not enough damage this early on, however. So Captain Twig does find his way out of jail, despite the fact being severely outnumbered. A large part of that has to do with the passive. Jumping over the wall with that ultimate, brings it up.
Double Camazot's ult is pretty brutal to deal with as well. And speaking of brutal, Ataraxia giving Emil the jukes and probably holding on to his life because of it.
Yeah, that stun hits. You're going to see the follow-up combo of the bladed and the hail of arrows at the same time. A couple of basics, and that's it. So a nice little, well, they call it the Barabat set, but I think this time it's the Ataraxia avoidance. Yeah?
I don't know.
I can feel the foreheads in chat right
It's
now.
almost there.
I can feel the foreheads in chat right now, but Emilito here having some fun on the Uller. And Uller is one of my favorite gods to watch play because it's just surgical precision all the time.
I do have to agree with that one. And on top of that, Emil's doing an excellent job at keeping Ataraxia really shoved out of this lane. He's got the complete control of the pacing in the dual lane. Even after having died to mass gank, I don't think that he's still feeling super concerned or super pressured out just because he does have excellent ward vision and it's up high where it matters.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. We see about 1,000 gold separating the two teams, but going back to that Hunter matchup, very little gold separating the two Hunters specifically. So nothing to really be concerned about if you're Emil or Ataraxia, and honestly 1,000 gold, nothing to really be concerned about as far as the teams in general. Just something to keep in mind as the Manticores look to push into the mid game and perhaps look for an objective.
Roar looking for Mask right now with the chains, is able to connect, but Mask was able to get his lifesteal off on him, still taking a ton of damage, however.
Ultimate used by Ataraxia on top of Emilito, and the help from Kiki across the map. Blink forward for Aurora, doesn't get the hurt, he gets hurt himself! Mask with another kill, 2-0-0 for the North American jungler. Captain Twig tosses out some poke, but it's too little too late, and Titans showing that they're not going to lay down without a fight.
That's just the do or die scenario there for Aurora. And his mindset is, sure, I'm probably going to go down here, but if I can get the pull off or force their actives, then Twig could potentially have the cleanup. Just Twig a little bit short of making it into the lane in time, and Swubin trying to give Emilito a run for his money.
Yeah, frankly, I just don't like that play out of Aurora. I don't think there was enough damage to follow up there, whether or not he knew that. On the other side, however, like you said, maybe Captain Twig would have been able to follow up. This early on with the Osiris, you're not going to really have that burst damage as you would with a traditional jungler.
But that's what the Frenzy is for.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Either way, Titans wind up on the other side. All right, let's see your side a little bit more now. There was a method to the madness. I'll give you that.
It's there from time to time, I would say. With Aurora, you can be a little bit nutty on that Ares, but I do believe that it was just an aggressive standpoint, and yeah. I think it's also one of the scenarios where you're kind of still feeling out your opposition. You want to see how they're going to react, and this is a perfect example of that. Just no hesitation. They saw them backing in the mid lane and immediately gunned straight for that Portal Demon.
There was vision and everything. Titans were just too far away. Manticore used the intelligent, or the information rather, of, as you said, the players backing, and they go right for the objective, taking their lead up again, keeping it about 1,500.
Still no Gold Fury contest, though, and with the game timer almost reaching 11 minutes now, I kind of anticipate these teams to start really grouping around that Gold Fury pit, really looking for the aggressive engagements, and especially for the Manticores, because their composition is purely favored for early game.
I mean, you say, oh, early game, sure. I was going to go the way of objective secure. Anytime you have a Thoth or a big mage nuke, you're going to lean towards that team for the objective secure. But of course, with Pretty Prime, he can be any god on the map at any point in time, so he can bring the nuke as well.
And that's the thing, is that with Pretty Prime, it does make things a little bit more difficult for Manticores. I am expecting them to look for the pick over the objective.
Yeah, for sure. So, Manticore, and you know, when it comes down to the Titans, they've got Mask on this Camazotz. Camazotz excels at finding the picks. Mask, the player, excels at finding the picks. He's 2-0-0, no surprise here. I think Mask right now is, at this moment in time, 12 minutes, he might be the most potent character on the field.
Oh, for sure. Camazotz just has incredibly high scaling on his base damage. Excellent avoidance of the Axe Stun. Already forcing out Emilito's actives, and he's still on the run. There go his beads. His Aegis is already burned, but Aurora's got the counter rotation.
That said, there's help in the jungle. Pretty Prime invisible, looking for the stun. After the stun, gets it. Aurora locked in place. There's help from the best, but Pretty Prime, not afraid with the Morrigan, takes to the skies, gets one, and looks for safety afterwards. Captain Twig might punish the bat, and he does. There's the kill. The best gets a second. Raxia's in trouble next.
And it's going to be the sprint. They're still giving chase. Ataraxia forced into his beads already,
passive.
trying to get away, but he can't from the best, able to clean it up.
That was the frenzy you were talking about. Well, they didn't even need it that time, actually. I'll take that one back. Captain Twig just coming through in the clutch. Sprint. Sure, you're going faster, but Captain Twig with that passive doesn't have to slow down for the basic attacks, and the best from a distance, laying out the artillery. Dimmy's here to look at the Gold Fury, but Captain Twig going to do his job and zone out the enemy solo laner. Gold Fury, left side, Manticores all day find themselves up 3,000 plus.
That was just a complete turn and burn from the Manticores, and it looked very awful for them initially, even after Aurora was able to make that rotation. But Emilito surviving as long as he did actually bought so much time for his team to make that rotation, and that's really where it comes in clutch. Sure, they lost one member, but at the expense of Titans losing 3 plus a Gold Fury, you're going to take that trade all day long.
Absolutely, and I think what that fight that we saw on the left side, that's really going to illustrate what to expect out of this Manticores team. You're going to see Emilito play some trick stuff, going crazy, and then Aurora, the best, and Captain Twig are just going to make stuff happen. If anything else is needed, Kiki shows up and provides exactly what the roster is going to be lacking at that moment in time, and that's sort of what the Manticores are really making up here with their draft.
Plus, if there's one team composition I don't want to have my purification beats forced out for, it is the Manticores comp. And Ataraxia is going to need to play this one very carefully until his beads are back up. And the same can be said for Pretty Prime.
Yeah, again, when we look at Ares, we look towards some of the more traditional beads burning characters like Hades and Bats. But Emilito, that's his job here. The reliable, dependable axe stun with the follow-up burst damage. You're going to want to beat that Uller stun a lot of the time. Way to roar with the pull, gets it. There's follow-up from the mage, but Ataraxia still very much alive. Polymorph is good, but the best does one better. 90% with one ability. Finishes it off with the first.
Best is just swinging away right now. Dimmy trying to give him chase and finally lock this thought down. It's going to be Pretty Prime getting the cleanup kill, and now they're trapped in this tight little corridor.
Very important play to bring down that mid-mage. Pretty Prime into the bat, Mask the original himself, looking to zone out Captain Twig as the chase for Emilito is big. Dimmy's low and Wubbin's lower, so Mask finds his way out towards the north side. Emilito is low, the frenzy is good, everybody's near zero, but Emilito brings him down, gets brought down himself. Dimmy exiting north, but Captain Twig not done, jumps forward, still just a big fight fest in the middle lane as Mask tumbles again.
I think Mass was expecting for his teammates to still be with him, and then he kind of realized it was the enemy team that was still hanging around.
Mass stumbles for the first time, let me correct myself, and that's a very big point. The jungler has been off to a tear, and to finally bring him down is going to be a nice big gold bounty, since the Titans brought down the best earlier on as well, so that's going to even out things, and you can see the golden experience difference, still just shy of 4K for Manticores.
And Captain Twig just helping Aurora clear out that solo lane farm. And I wanted to double check on it as well, but it was Dimmy actually with the Blink pickup, which I think is a very interesting pickup for Kukulkan. It was super effective in the way that he utilized it to blink around the backside, ensuring that he was still able to clean up the low HP gods in the backline. But it is also just a strong initiation factor when you consider his alternate form.
That's the deal for me, is that if you're able to blink in with Kukulkan, you're going to find that knock-up consistently. You're also still going to have that jump available for when you find the backline and the escape, you can still follow up. So I like the blink on the side of Dimmy. And again, one of the first times we really get to see this character be played at a competitive level. And so I think a lot of people are taking notes on how the young solo laner is going to be playing Kukulkan.
And it's pretty crucial for the Titans as well, because sure, you've got Wubbin on the Geb, but he has been struggling a little bit against the heavy CC composition of the Manticores. It is just so difficult to constantly avoid the Terra Root, the Thought Stuns, Uller Axe Stuns, Aurora with his change. Just every member on that team has some form of CC.
And it's not just the CC, it's the way that Manticores play. Pedal to the metal all day, every day. Just hyper-aggressive. Aurora was looking by himself in the enemy speed buff, just looking to see if he could find somebody off guard, try something, but not going to be found there just yet. 9-5, 17 minutes in. This is the best of 3 Our semifinals will both be best of threes, and then the finals will go ahead to be best of fives. All 3 matches will be played today.
And Twig, especially with that sprint and the frenzy, you know he's just looking to go in. He's popping both of those relics same time pretty much and just giving his team as much chase potential as possible. And with the amount of burst damage altogether, that frenzy's going to come up huge just because it just makes best all the more potent.
Yeah, he's already swinging very hard. 3-1 and 2, level 15 on the Thoth. And he's just been able to provide so much damage from a distance as well. That one death is because he's been on the back line most of the time, and Titans have had a hard time penetrating that. He found himself sort of in the middle of everybody on the left side of the map, and that's where he ultimately did fall. But Best, known for his positioning, I'd say. More known for his long-range accuracy, but Best definitely comes up in the clutch.
This is just an incredibly consistent player. You know that you never have to really worry about him falling ridiculously far behind. You never really have to worry about his positioning being terrible. He's just all around mechanically adept and prepared.
Dimmy getting surrounded by 3 again. Best trying to play it safe because Dimmy's going to go down with a fight. Thorns is already over. There's Frenzy, and there's the transformation. Half HP for the solo lane, and now Mask on the back line looking for Thoth. Keep going out of the hair of the mid laner, and there's Mask taking to the sky. Captain Twig, 25%, jumps away, can't keep himself away from the bat, but finds himself underneath the tower. Here comes Aurora looking for the follow-up.
The Geb Shield and the Shell, still not enough time to buy mass damage, but it's just going to be Aurora locking him down with those chains. Besh trying to give chase to Wubbin and Dimmy in the mid lane, just out of range though.
I love the thought process. Going for the stun, can't find it, so immediately shift to the farm focus. Number 10 for the Manticores on the right side of the map as the left side of the map becomes objective focus and the middle part of the map becomes kill focus. Wubbin brought in and brought down. Big deal damage coming out from Aurora.
And look at this Gold Fury already. Manticores and Twig and Emil alone able to lock that one down.
I love to see Aurora playing these aggressive characters. Now, metas change, and it's been a long time, and I don't expect to see these picks. But Aurora made his name on gods like Fenrir support. He even played Bakasura support competitively one time. It's all about, sure, he's going to help support his team, but he's also looking to just start fights, continue fights, and end fights by himself if he needs to. That's what we see in the mid lane. And right here on the grabs, 6,000 experience and gold to the Manticores.
Well, the best part about Aurora being on this Ares is that he has Kiki on the Terra in the solo lane, so you're still having a super strong supporting factor. You have the sustain from the Terra, you've got the global presence, so Aurora is free to build a little bit more damage-oriented. He went from Traveler straight into that Void Stone. Now he's building into the Stone of Fall. He's really just trying to ensure that he doesn't fall drastically far behind.
At the same
time. Or Jade Emperor's Crown, excuse me.
At the same time, you're seeing this aggressive build coming out from Terra as well. Penetration boots after the Ward Stone, that's level 2 of the Void Stone, Rod of Asclepius, and then that Zoom. You've got the Swift Wing, which is not only going to help him out by getting out of base, but also give him a little bit of HP as well. Breastplate of Valor because Breastplate of Valor.
And I'm just waiting for him to keep building into those aura-oriented items, really getting that Ares passive stacking up. Because the more damage you have on Ares, especially in these earlier, even though it's reaching more towards mid-late game period, Ares is still doing a ton of damage.
That's the key here, and as we said, the Void Stone not only going to help him out, but also his teammates. The best, and Terra going to continue to deal damage as well. Mask, a little bit of damage, but Aurora not as accurate as he was earlier on in the game right there on the jungler.
It's really just, you don't want to get chained because you know every single time somebody else is going to follow up with another method of CC.
Left side, Captain Twig. Right side, the rest of his team. Wubbin gets chained twice. There's the ultimate out of the Geb. And the dash forward, Wubbin brought down to half HP. He very quickly finds himself even lower, and Captain Twig gets the kill on the support. Everybody here in the Manticore's jersey sands the Hunter, and Dimmy's trying to do his best to deal with it all. Rotation from the Titans could turn things around. Mask takes down the best. Up down from Captain Twig, and Pretty Prime needs an Aegis to get out of there. Dimmy does not have the same luxury, and another kill goes the way of Aurora while the Hunters duke it out on the left side of the map.
Ataraxia's got a secondary member, though, with that T2 tower, and considering how low Emilito's mana was, he is going to have to back off. Unfortunately for the Titans, they weren't able to back off in their own jungle. 2 members dying, just trying to secure some buffs.
And look at that. Just 1,000 damage separated the 2 teams in that team fight, but 2 separate kills. Emilito with the lower HP taking the fight to the mask, but there it is. Long range shot. Here comes Aurora blinking on in. Clean up. Isle 2. Down goes the jungler again to the hand of Aurora, the support.
That was excellently executed by Emilito, using that axe form stance to ensure that he was getting a little bit of lifesteal and sustain on those auto attacks.
Yeah, that was 100% what it was. Knew exactly how far he needed to bring down his opposition, knowing that he had help in the wings. Aurora, the captain of this team, and certainly showing why, not just by way of his gameplay, but also on his shot calls. I know for a fact that Aurora was saying, "Take that fight, here I come."
Every single time, that's kind of just the direction to go in, though. Yeah. If it's a fight that you're able to maintain and you know that your support's going to be coming in from the backside with the blink,
oh yeah,
it's just wonderful execution. It seems as though the team chemistry is not an issue for the side of Manticores.
Not at all. That's always going to be one of the questions that you ask when you see one of these mix-up events, right? But Emil is one of these players that can just play. I think Emil can play virtually any game he wants and join any squad. He's going to be able to function on his own on the left side, and the Manticores have done that. And now when he joins up with the squad, we saw what happened in the mid lane with Aurora. Here's the siege, right-hand side.
And it's going to be so difficult for the Titans to try and hold this one off. You've got all of the Manticore members just kind of hanging around, leeching off of that sustain from Kiki. I'm a little slightly off the mark with the axe stun, but the tower is still falling, and it's already gone.
There's the counter initiation as Dimmy jumps on in. Down go the Thorns, and a lot of damage being dished out on the back line as Mask finds the kill. The best goes down, but Mask in trouble. Emilito gets one for his team as well. 4-on-4, right side of the map. Here it goes. Titans on the retreat.
But Dimmy, he's already gotten chained down by Aurora, and now it's just going to be Manticore surrounding him, trying to keep him locked down. Woman not able to help, even with that slight knockup. It's just no use. Manticore's come out on top with the T2 tower and a couple of kills.
This game looks to be in the hands of the Manticores solidly. 11,000 gold in the lead, leading by 16-7. That's a 9-kill differential. Titans certainly playing well, but not well enough.
And that was another one of those team fights where it was only a mere 500 damage that's separating these two teams, but it's not the damage that is important. It's the sustain from Kiki. These Terra heals are coming up pretty clutch right now.
You know what? It might be the heals. If we could take a look at the healing done, very rarely do I really want to see the stat out of a Terra. 7,000, sure. That's definitely contributing to it. I think it has more to do with who's getting hit as Aurora surrounds Pretty Prime with his teammate, Captain Twig. You're looking at the double shell coming out from the 2 Guardians on the squad. I mentioned 2 Guardians specifically. Captain Twig on the tanky Osiris jungle with a Hide of the Urchin and a Witchblade. Shout outs to the Shifter Shield as well, I guess. The targets on the side of Manticores are just tougher to kill. So you're dealing the same amount of damage in, but you're not getting the same amount of result.
Well, we've seen what's happened to Mask now in the past couple of engagements where he's found the kill onto the best, which has been really important because otherwise these fights would be even more one-sided. However, he's using literally everything in order to find best in the backline or even just looking to poke out Emilito, and because of that, Manticores just have an all-too-easy task of surrounding him and then nuking him right after.
At the same time, Taco, and I want to hear, whether you agree with me or not, Mask diving the backline to kill the best and trading himself out every time is his job. If he gets out, that's almost icing on the cake. Trading 1 for 1 in that scenario, I don't have an issue with that.
Normally, I wouldn't have a problem with it either, but the issue surrounding it is the fact that Mask is so much the damage for his team right now. He's really one of the only members for Titans that's making a significant impact as far as the punch is concerned. After that, you've got Pretty Prime, and sure, Pretty Prime has his ultimate, but he probably wants to be able to use his ult in a manner that isn't just the Kamazots, and probably more towards the side of the Thoth for example.
Yeah, and that's really what we're missing is Titans don't have a way to really get to or continue to get to the back line after the best falls down. And Melito's able to sort of go through and around the front line by way of his Uller abilities, right? Bladed Arrow goes through players and Hail of Arrows goes past players. Ataraxia on the Goatman on Kerninos doesn't really have that luxury. You're gonna hit your brambles, and that gets stopped by the first target. Even the ultimate, right, is just a zoning tool in these scenarios. Titans really don't have a way to jump to the back line once Mask is dead.
All things considered, though, I think the Titans are doing an excellent job at still holding their own despite the experience and gold disparities. Because if you were to just roll over and die, for example, Manticores would just completely have ended this game, siege the Fire Giant already, and pretty much everything else is history. But Titans, as long as they keep pushing back a little bit and finding one or two picks, I think it'll be enough to deter the Manticores long enough for the Morrigan to hit that late game stride. And once a game starts rounding more towards the 40-minute mark, it becomes incredibly difficult to deal with a Morrigan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the difference of seeing the regular season games versus the all-star NRG Invitational teams here is that, yeah, this game might have been over with different rosters, but Titans able to hold on, just able to really do what they need to. Portal Demon goes the way of Manticores relatively simply. Those were very close. Oh, a roar with the laziest of backs! The laziest of backs!
Is it that lazy, though? He's got his entire team to peel for him. The sprint plus the Terra ultimate. And now it's actually going to be Titans caught up where they don't want to be. Wubbin trying to get out. Dimmy looking to buy some time. Unfortunately, going to sacrifice himself. And I don't even think everybody's going to get away for it.
There's an axe toss. Emilino not of the money. Blink forward from Wubbin. Very important. He knew just how strong Emilino was on that Uller. You know what? Emilino's going to get stunned, and he's going to get in trouble. Activates the Aegis right away. Pretty Prime transforms into Thoth. Can't find the long-range damage. One more time. Pretty Prime in trouble. Activates the ultimate, and he gets ulted himself by the best. Imitation might be the best form of flattery, but ain't nobody flattered there. The best takes him to town. Number 19 for the Manticores.
I appreciate the mindset that Prime had there where he wanted the safe, longer range from the Thoth abilities. It's just so unfortunate that Emilito still had his Aegis available, and on top of that was just speeding right on out of there.
Those are two... Listen, after the game, Aurora's going to say, no, I was just baiting. I know for a fact, right? And I'll give him maybe he was baiting. Emilito was not baiting there. But both situations that Manticores make curious back placement decisions, they wind up on top still, making the best out of a bad situation, turning the team fight around, and earning themselves a Fire Giant, now looking for the push. Mask in trouble. And
that is not a good look for the jungler. Forced out of his Camazot's ultimate already makes him lose a lot of his chase down capabilities, and so Best knows that he's going to be pretty safe now, and probably going to be a little bit more relaxed with his positioning.
Sieging in the middle lane, 5 players with that Fire Giant buff. And it's just going to walk forward. Captain Twig on tank duty as everybody else deals with the Phoenix on the left side. Dimmy here on the right, looking for the flank with Pretty Prime, who's invisible. Going to find the stun on Emilito, half HP, but Pretty Prime in more trouble. Raxia gets the kill, but Best takes out Wubbin. Emilito in tons of hurt, but it's Captain Twig who's jumping to the back line, taking down the Hunter, and Emilito wiggling around, avoiding Dimmy, finds himself safe. Trip skis for Captain Twig. Everybody's dead. The Titan inevitable. First game goes to Manticores.
That ultimate from Best just won the game. As soon as that final judgment came swinging through and hit, I believe 3 members on Titans. I mean, Pretty Prime